So after church this morning, I was kind of thinking about what I could make a video on. And so I decided to talk about church because it's a part of my life and always has been, so yeah. I grew up in the Church of Christ, and I still attend a Church of Christ. However, when I go home, I don't return to the Church of Christ that I grew up in because I don't really like that church anymore. But yeah, that's a whole nother story for another day. But things that are different about the Church of Christ and people think is weird and don't really understand is that we don't have instruments. All of our music is a cappella singing, and yeah, it's different. I have attended churches that have instruments from just an organ or a piano all the way to a full band with drums, guitar, bass, lead singers, and stuff like that as well. So I've experienced a wide range of churches, and there are some churches of Christ that condemn that kind of stuff and say you'll go to hell if you do that. I've never really believed that. I don't think God really, is going to condemn somebody because they had a piano at church. But since I grew up with just the a cappella singing, and it just is very special to me, and I enjoy it a lot. Not because I think it's more holy or anything like that. It's just what I grew up with and what I enjoy. So that's why I still attend a Church of Christ. I also attend the church I go to now because I really like the minister. I've attended several churches while I was here. Since I've been here the last 4 years, I attended a non-denominational church that had a band, and I liked it, but I never really felt at home there. It was just a little too big for my liking. And then I attended another Church of Christ, but it was a little too old school and resistant to change, which is very dangerous for a church, I think. And I just, didn't really feel comfortable. I've attended a few churches just once that I completely disagreed with their practices. I attended a church where I walked in and there were pamphlets about abortion, like on why you shouldn't get an abortion on the seat. And while, yeah, I'm never going to get an abortion. Would never do that myself, but I am not going to tell somebody else not to get one. So I found it a little offensive that the church had that on the seats of the chairs. So no, I never went to that church again. But yeah, then I found this church. I guess it was the beginning of this calendar year that I went, and they just had they have 4 services. They have a more traditional service where they sing out of hymn books, and then they have like a smaller, more intimate service, which is what I go to. There's a praise team in that church, which means there's like 6 or 7 people that lead the singing. There's one main leader and then like a team that sings with him. But the pastor does the same sermon in every service, which is nice because it's not like he's editing what he's saying for different groups of people. So he's not saying really conservative things in one service and liberal things in another. It's not like that at all. And so I started going to that. I think in January I went a couple times, and it was just really laid back. But the minister talked about like the historical context of the Bible a lot, which I think I'd missed a lot in growing up. We didn't get a lot of that historical context, but after coming to college and going through Bible classes where I studied a lot of the historical context of religious texts across the board, not just Christian texts, I wanted to know that stuff about the things that I was practicing. And so him talking about, why it was such a big deal for Jesus saying to turn the other cheek and why that meant so much more, it like made sense because I'd always heard turn the other cheek, but I didn't know that, using, one hand is more evil than the other. So if you're forcing them to use their other the eviler hand to slap your other cheek, like they have to make that decision if they're going to go that one step further and do something that much worse to you than just slapping you on the face with their hand that is fine to do that with. I didn't explain it very well, but I'm rambling. And then he was also very open and honest about politics and stuff like that. And I think a lot of churches try to avoid that because, yeah, churches aren't supposed to be a political place. But he wasn't like spouting politics. But what he said was, I can find good things and bad things about any party that you think of, any sort of activity that we do in today's world. There are good things and bad things that come from it. So you just have to be able to find the good and bad in everything that you do and like recognize it. And so I thought that was really nice and honest. And he wasn't saying you have to be a Republican to be a Christian, which I've heard at churches before. So yeah, it was a refreshing take. And so I don't know, I've rambled for 7 minutes. Oh Lord. But yeah, I'm not really gonna preach, but just thought I'd share my experiences with church and the Church of Christ. But it'll be interesting going home because I probably will go to the church that I grew up in a couple times, just because it's the holidays and my parents will want me to. But yeah, it's a lot different going back to that church now that I've seen a very different approach to the same kind of church. Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.